All right. Hey, so guys, for those that I have not met, my name is Coit Kessler, and I'm a retired Austin firefighter, and I am going to be the lead for today's our last basic training for the year, and I'm hoping to be able to share a few things with you that maybe, if nothing else, is just food for thought, right? I mean, 1 hour. These classes, guys, are a full day's class. I mean, this is a lot to always throw in 1 hour, especially when we're talking about disaster response. So I'm gonna fly through some slides and let's just engage. Let's just go with questions and figure out, how we can make this better. If you guys got any suggestions on any of this, let's add it. So with that, I've got a screen that I'm going to share with you. I think this is going to be it. Standby one. Make sure I'm queued up here. All right, I think that's going to do it. Yep. Hey, Roro is, well, no, that did not pop up, did it? Amateur. How's that?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. All right. So, apologies. I got asked to do this last night. So, man, I've been throwing some slides together, and forgive me if this is not going to be the A game, but I'm going to give you the best I've got. And again, let's just engage and talk and work through this together. So, the topic of today was is major and catastrophic events and incidents, right? So, this is our disaster responses. Right. And there we go. Agenda. Always got to have an agenda. It's going to be the basics of all of this. I'm going to try to get into how to maximize DroneSense in this. I think you guys, hopefully just using the tools are going to see like, here my gaps are. Here's how would I take this tool and fill that gap in with. That's the goal here. Not pushing, the product, although this is a DroneSense presentation, that's not the game here, right? The game is, hey, how do we respond to an event? How do you take your tools and put those tools into play? We just happen to be one of many tools that you can use when you show up for a disaster response. I thought this was pretty good. I jumped in here and I was looking at the different stages of disaster response, and there's 4 to 5. So if we've got any emergency managers on here, you guys may argue with me like, hey man, there's five uh stages in response. I just went with the four, and this kind of all comes about after the Stafford Act that was put into place, which helped bring emergency management up to speed, right? And this was back in 1988, so it's not that long ago. We were really starting to move towards the development of FEMA and trying to get our organization of disaster response together. So again, for you old guys out there, this you remember when it wasn't like this. But the 4 stages that we are when we're looking at disaster is our mitigation, as you guys can see here, preparedness, response, and recovery. And these little stupid pieces of plastic that we have fit into every bit of that. So, if we're talking about the mitigation phase, right, and eliminating the risk, well, I mean, we go out and fly areas all the time, so we know what our response area is. Preparedness, we're involved in training. We should be in training. I mean, you're flying in the national airspace, you got to fly these drones. Response is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's game day. And then recovery is the back end of this and how we're able to map an area. I'm going to use Hurricane Helene as an example. Poor Asheville just got in that North Carolina just got swacked during the hurricane this last year, and so there's all this recovery effort with going in and taking all these images and using them for the recovery effort, right? So I think this fits really well into our system, and these are things that we ought to be thinking about because when you're looking at these 4 different highlighted areas, you need to be thinking about, hey, how do I go back to my community and help get money for my program, right? So I'm going to put a little different spin on this. Is I thought we were just talking about disaster response. Well, yeah, you got to be prepared for disaster response. The way you get prepared for disaster response is you have equipment, you have funding, you have the support of your organization. So think about this, right? This is all spelled out if you go into the Googles and you look up the stages of disaster response and look at how you fit into this. And then take that, use a little strategery here, take that to your administrators, take that to the executives, take that to the city managers, to the county and state representatives, right? So they are looking at how you can plug into this response model and why you need to have support. So again, we're going to hit this from a lot of different angles today. When we're talking about the um, response to a disaster, I think this is something that is really critical to us, right? And that is we need to be able to tie in immediately with incident command. And you say, okay, I got that. I show up, I go over to my police commander, I go over to the battalion chief. I know that when we show up on a response, that we're all going to work together. But I can't even tell you how during a disaster response how that for some reason that simple practice that we all know that we should have and we all should do doesn't happen, right? I'm going to throw out Hurricane Helene again because that was the last large disaster that I had responded to, and so during that one, you're looking at this incident command system here. I'm going to focus down on the operations section and go down to Air Ops branch. Well, that seems simple, right? Hey, we're aircraft. We should all be tying into air ops. Well, during an event, guys, as you all know, it's moving so fast. And usually the organization that is suffering the most, the folks that live there are trying to establish this until the army shows up and then they're able to build out through their incident management teams and incident support teams. They're able to build out an ICS system that can really help out. So there's a lot of gaps that are end up being missed at all of our events that we show up at. So what I'm challenging you with is, when you show up, make sure you're showing up at incident command, and that incident command is looking at everybody all together, right? Because the air ops branch, man, that was something that was missed immediately at Hurricane Helene, and it took like a week before we were able to actually establish air ops branch. You're like, and if you come from LA, you're probably like, why is that important? Well, all those, that's the group that should be coordinating all the air operations, right? They're the ones that should be in a seat, not out flying. They should be in the seat, and they should be the ones that the utility companies are calling and saying, "Hey, we're going to go put some telephone poles up in this area on this hillside. So we're going to be sling loading some telephone poles. Do you have anybody working in that area? Or we're going to be working in that area." Just to let you know, to be clear, hey, we got medevac that's flying in here and flying out of here. We have because we have a hospital that's in the middle of Asheville, or we have National Guard that are going to be coming in and out. So if you don't tie it immediately in and you don't immediately go into this system, then it's a real struggle. I do know, I mean, I come from the fire side of the world in emergency management that, we practice this a lot. So, I'm saying when we go into this as a team, let's all go into this together. So if this is not your strong area, chances are you have some people that you work around or with that this is their strong suit. And I say tie in with them immediate because the instant command system is built to help us out, not to slow us down, but to make us actually run a lot faster. And that air ups branch has to be dialed in from the start. And we all end up missing that. I know it because I've shown up at enough of these events. That is a very important area that you need to jump into. So don't overthink this, guys. This is just like any other response that we have in our emergency services. Don't recreate the wheel, right? If you're used to showing up at flooding in your town and you know how that ends up working for the flooding in your town or your area of operation, take that and then just expand it out, right? Is look at how you would do that at a larger scale. Do not recreate the wheel because it's not that hard. And I always like to say, this is something one of my old caps threw at me. He's like, "Hey, practice the way you play." So if I'm looking over on the right-hand side of the screen and you're looking at just the madness that's going on the right hand side of the screen. Well, you can practice this for each one of those events on the right hand screen with showing up to one of those on the left hand side of the screen, right? So if you are working to try to learn how to fit better into your instant command system, learning how to tie in with your neighbors so you guys are all sharing mission sharing codes or you guys are all working together. That's the place you practice. And I'm super proud of the folks here in Texas. Like we just, I'm just so proud of the guys here. Like we have I got Forrest Gump down here in the bottom left. That's our UT football game. We have folks that just all fly together just to practice so they can be ready for the next flood or next hurricane response. So it's just a place to practice. Each one of these events have all the things in common, all the things, and that's what we're going to be talking about here. So some of the things that we need to be thinking about is they will always happen. We're always going to have the large football game. We're always going to have the large musical events. We're always the Indy 500 happens every year. They will all require planning. They'll all require everybody to have equipment that works together. And that when I say equipment that works together, I mean software as well, right? So not just, hey, I got a bunch of drones, but you got to be able to put all those drones onto one screen so you can actually do your job. You need every organization or every event you have, you're going to have to focus on airspace management. I know a lot of you guys have seen some of these slides before. I mean, because they all fit together with our large scale events. But I'm just hoping I can re-hit this with you guys again, is this is imperative that you guys are looking at this as one and the same. So airspace management, crewed and uncrewed, all working together. Personnel and training, logistics. Man, if you don't have enough toilet paper, your day is bad. Your week is terrible. So, logistics is a huge part of showing up for a disaster response. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Making sure that I have my communications out, I've got some redundancy. So when we have folks that are up in the hills doing mapping operations for this community that just got whacked, that we have comms with them when cell towers are knocked out, right? How do we do that? Well, do we have some Starlinks that we can backhaul some comms over Wi-Fi? Do we have sat comms? I mean, how do we communicate during these large scale events? And then our regulatory piece, right? Do you guys, I hope that everybody here, I probably should have put a slide up here. Everybody has the phone number to the Special Operations Center for the FAA because you're going to end up showing up at one of these places and they're going to ask you what your emergency is because you're going to need to be able to operate in a TFR into a natural disaster and you're going to need to get a hold of somebody. So I should have put that slide in here. I regret that I hadn't. But you're going to need to be able to work within the regulatory confines of the national airspace. And they'll always need you, right? They'll always need us to work together. And to work together, you're going to have to be interoperable. So, step two, this is my favorite. A quick story here, guys, is well, I'm sorry if you're too young and you don't recognize the movie Nerds. Um, the um, I had one of my mentors at the State's Air Operations Center here in Texas, our Operations Center. It's one of the things that he threw at me, like just from the start, and it's always stuck with me. Is I walked in and I met this colonel, and the colonel turns around, I shake his hand, I said, "Hey, sir, I'm here to run UAS for this event." He goes, "Okay, who's on the team?" Like that was just his first thing he said to me. And that just stuck. And it just makes sense, right? We have to know who is going to show up at these events. And these stupid pieces of plastic are what bring us all together. So when we're looking at responding, it needs to be the fire department, the paramedics, the emergency managers, and the LEs, right? So we need to be able to bring us all together and work. There's not any organization out there. It's not going to be any state organization, any federal organization that are going to be able to respond to handle all these events at one time by itself. So that's when I say the stupid pieces of plastic brings us all together, it absolutely does. And this is really important. So make sure that you know ahead of time before the event happens, and if it's maybe in the state next to you and you guys are going to roll next door, is who those people are that you're going to be responding with when you go out the door. incredibly important to know who's on the team. Now, when we're thinking about planning, all right, planning for these events, we have to start talking immediately. Hurricane season started. Hey, Matt Bridge Farmer, I see you on here. When did hurricane season start? Was that 2 days ago or 3 days ago?
Yeah, it starts June 1st officially on the calendar, but we're prepping well before.
Okay. So I love what he just said. June 1st, right? So 3 days ago, officially happened. The state of Texas, he just said it. We've been prepping for it long before. So, state of Texas, we're really fortunate in that we have a SAR-X exercise, right? So, we actually bring in helicopters from all over the United States and we fly drones with them, and we're working on combined, coordinated efforts between our aircraft. So, planning ahead, right? Making sure that we are all able to communicate together and that we're all working off the same plan. So when we're talking about a plan, I'm just showing you over here to the right. If you guys haven't started working on ops plans, man, hit me up on this. You guys will have my contact information. I've got sample ops plans I can send you. But I mean, it's just simple information. Again, don't recreate the wheel. You need to know the who, what, and the wheres, right? We need to know our packing list, what we're going to go out the door with. We've you're going to have before you go out the door if you're going to truly want to interoperate, because a lot of the other softwares that are out there just don't allow you to work together. You're going to need to have that ops hub information. You're going to need to have those magic video links in your shared mission codes already printed on an ops plan so you can just hand that sucker out and everybody's able to work together, right? You're always going to want to be able to brief with your folks before you go out. And if you come from a law enforcement background, I think we're doing a really good job. Like, we're starting to see that we're all starting to work off our incident command or ICS forms. But if you're looking at the ones that I have listed before, these are ones. Take notes. A 205 is just your comms plan. It's just like a roster where you have everybody's basic communications and what frequencies you're going to be operating off of. Incredibly important when you show up for a disaster event. The assignment list, an org chart, an air ops, having a 220, which is like an air ops plan. Those are just some really simple ones for you guys to take notes on. These are really important when you're talking about showing up at an event and trying to coordinate everybody together. The picture down at the very bottom, that was Hurricane Helene just during one of our morning briefs. So we showed up every morning, and we'd have somewhere, I think, I don't know, nine, I don't know, 6 to 12 teams, 6 to 10 teams. I don't even know. Teams worth of people that would show up, and we would all coordinate ahead of time. So everybody show up in the morning. We'd all do some laughing. We'd have plans together on where everybody was going, what we're doing, and then we went out the door, right? So again, very important that we don't recreate the wheel. We do this like every other event that we have. Equipment. Make sure your equipment is hardened. Make sure of that. If you're going to be flying down in a downtown area, make sure that the drone that you're flying doesn't lose connectivity when you hit your mic. That's happening today. Like, there are equipment that's being sold to us that when you fly and you key up your mic, it drops your connection. Very important to have equipment that works in your environment. Make sure that you have all the batteries, right? And you have all the chargers. Something that we've learned, just by doing literally thousands of flights, is, man, these chargers or batteries, as you guys know, they don't like heat. And man, we got a lot of heat in Texas. So we always have to have a vehicle or something to be able to put our chargers in to help the batteries cool off. So as soon as they come off the flight line, they go in the air conditioning truck. You guys, probably many of you guys have already thought about that. It goes in the air conditioning truck. We throw them on the chargers, and then we're able to get these things cool down faster and back out on the flight line a lot easier. You would be so surprised how many people show up at these disaster events just wanting to stand with their controller. And we all know how long that lasts. So make sure, if you're going to be going out the door, and we're going to talk about a mission ready package, what that can look like for you. Make sure though that you got the super simple things like, hey, I need to have some tables and chairs. I mean, this is a disaster. I'm going to be out there for a long time. I don't want to be standing up and holding my controller all day long, right? So I'd like to be able to have an actual monitor that I can show incident command what's going on, or my people can look at, or as I'm starting to scale out our our flight line, that we all can see what is happening with these different feeds that are coming in. We've got to have radios, not only to go back to command, but it may just be just for our team itself, right? So we're not chewing up the radio, the TAC radios, but we have somebody, if we got somebody just working down the corner, we may end up wanting to have just a set of small radios for us to be able to communicate on. So just some things for you guys to be thinking about. All right, data, always an issue for us. Disasters. I mean, many of you guys have seen this slide before. This is what we have in 2025 right now. And unless you guys have something different, if you do, speak up because I would love to hear some different options. This is just like the basics though, right? Is we show up and if the cavalry, the big army has showed up, maybe we have AT&T or Verizon and they brought out their cellular on wheels or cows, right? Maybe that has happened. But that usually takes a little bit of time for the infrastructure to move into a territory. So you're going to be falling back on what you got, right? Which may be as simple as just taking your controller and using your radio to communicate what you're seeing back to command. Or maybe you standing next to command and showing them on a screen or off your controller what you've got. And if you're fortunate enough to still have cellular connectivity, which guys, if you haven't responded to a disaster, it is it just sucks because the cell bands, if the towers haven't been knocked out, the cell bands get torn up because everybody wants to talk with their family members. Everybody's calling their insurance companies. Everybody's trying to figure out how to survive. So the bands get racked really hard. So that's where on the far left-hand side, if you're looking at Starlink, we found that to be a really good alternative for us, especially during the disaster events. If you're showing up at a large scale event, let's say a stadium, the Super Bowl, or you're showing up to practice at the Indy 500, you're doing some fun things to practice. I would totally go with the lower right-hand side, which is find a stationary building and that has a landline, your Ethernet cable, plug that in and create a network in your area. So if you haven't practiced with creating networks, this is a good time to do it is before an event. Practice a network so you can get a router out and you can create a network. And if you really can, if you've got some skill sets or maybe you got some great equipment, is create a mesh system, right? Where the mesh, all these radios end up communicating with one another. And then that helps expand your data bubble or your ability to communicate. So again, practice. Get out ahead of time. If you can think about maybe taking this Starlink, running it into a router, building out your system, and then meshing it out from there, now you're really starting to talk about what you need for a good disaster response. Data is not always the same, guys, and this is something else I know I've shared this slide with you guys before. Left-hand side, if you type into your browser bar and you go to speed test, it's going to show you kind of like this, is it Okaloosa or something like that? I can't remember. The speed test over on the left-hand side, it's okay. It's going to show you your ups and down speeds, but on the right-hand side, that's what you guys should be checking out. That's Cloudflare. It's a free app. If you have cell connectivity, or you just have data connectivity. So if you're using your Starlink, this is actually a really good way for you to be able to look at your the data that's coming in and out. Now, some of this stuff's it's going to be way over all of our heads, right? The latency and the jitter, especially the jitter, but that all means something. The packet loss means something. Down at the bottom, though, for dumb firefighter sitting in this chair, I'm looking at video stream quality. Oh, it's good. Well, if I know my video stream quality is good, that's probably going to mean that when I'm using my controller, the bosses are able to see what's going on. My online gaming, I know that if I can play some Halo, right? And I'm not lagging there. My online gaming, just kind of think simple terms, is I know that my gaming quality is good or average or good, that I definitely know that my speed getting back out to command is going to be good. And that's really important because as we all know, when you're operating on scene at a disaster, your brain, like your head's down and all you're doing is focusing on what you're seeing in the controller. Unfortunately, command's not always seeing that. So, be cautious with that or be mindful of that. Is that it may look good to you and it may be a hot mess around the corner when with command that's trying to figure out what you're looking at. So, be cognizant of that. I'm also going to throw out this plug is as when you take off your drones, I don't know what your policy is to record or not to record, but when you're showing up at a disaster response, my strong suggestion is that you record, right? And here's the reason why. This data may not be giving it to you. The data speeds may not be giving it to you while you're at a disaster, right? After the infrastructure's just been knocked out by a tornado or a hurricane or a fire or whatever. So if you need to make command decisions, you can always look down at your controller, key up your radio, and talk to command. But later on, you're going to want to be able to show and demonstrate what it was that you're communicating. So, just as a good reminder at these disaster responses, just hit your record button. If it's garbage and there's nothing there, get rid of it. Wipe out the stuff you have on your SD card. But I promise you, when you're showing up at these events, it's going to pay off for you to be able to record what you got going on. Um, historical reference, it's very valuable. Any questions on or any thoughts on that? No one? All right. Yeah,
Floyd,
hey,
I put a couple of comments in the chat. I mean, I obviously know what you're talking about with our response, and we ended up getting the new Starlink, and it's made all the difference in the world.
solid.
In not only communicating between each other and getting all the drones on one system, but also what they see back in the EOC. And you heard my frustrations before with that, so it solved all of those problems.
Yeah, I mean it sucks, right? It sucks when you're seeing it, but the bosses aren't. Like that's a really big one. I'm glad that Starlink is working right for you, man. That's solid. Anybody else? Steve.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Bubba, go with it.
Hey, I'll dump this in a feature request, but kind of like our dash cams can record 30 seconds prior, right? Is anything in the works or is it a heavy lift to do a recording after the fact? So I'm flying, I see somebody shoot somebody. I didn't get a chance to hit that record button, but I hit it and actually we were already running that. We were already running that in the background, so we're able to kind of go back in time and grab 10, 15, 20 seconds of stuff.
Super good question. The answer is we are probably going to get there with the tactical response, right? Which is pulling the drone out of the back of your ride and going. We're already there with drone as a first responder. So, or for us, it's DroneSense remote. So half of our system, the half that, if you're flying out of a dock, like it's already there. But we haven't brought it over to the tactical side. I don't know when it's going to happen or if it's, I won't say if because I keep hearing, yes, we're working towards it. But I know there are other considerations that go into it with management of data. And I don't know where it is on our roadmap, but I will say we have it for half of our system. We should be getting it for the tactical side, for the stick flying side of the drones. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, we thought of cross pollination with MSAT if you're dealing with undercovers or you're dealing with some other folks bringing in other feeds. There might be some utility there, so I appreciate it.
100% utility. I agree with you 1000% on that. It's there are some challenges with it though. Let me see. Ramon, are you seeing anything else in that chat? I just saw some. Is there anything?
Can you hear me on that?
Sean.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, we've got a question from Chris, talking about bandwidth when you have a bunch of devices all in close proximity. Corey, if you want to talk to it, I know I've seen it in just this past week.
Yes. Yeah. So what we found, Chris, is that um, so bandwidth is going to be kind of all encompassing, right? So everybody that's on that footprint, which could be your protesters, it could be the folks that just, at the football game, it could be everybody that's there after the flood, everybody's going to get whacked on the bandwidth as a whole. But the RF interference, right? That's what I was going to, I think you're talking about. The RF interference is what really becomes challenging. So bandwidth is kind of all over the place. That should be, we should all be, taking out a lot of, we're all using this data that's being provided in the air. But the RF interference, the radio frequency interference, that's what ends up hosing us. These little radio, this is not, well, this is not radio, it's not great, but your tactical radios that you have on you, when you key up on those, that actually, like it, if you hear about jamming, well, it is a contributor to the loss of your RF connection between your drone and your controller. So by just having that on you creates issues. When you're working, like you're flying out of your patrol vehicle or flying out of a fire truck, that MDC that's sitting next to you and all the interference that's coming from your MDC, that's actually jamming you up. It's really funny. We had this one customer and he was like, "Coit, DroneSense sucks because I'm standing next to my rescue unit and we can't see any of these feeds." I said, "Man, can you hit me up with a picture of that real quick? Because I just want to see what it looked like." And I'm serious. Like there was a table and they had I don't know 6 or 7 firefighters all standing there with their mics. They had their door open and they had another they had brought out an additional system for comms and it was all in one place and it just ended up being like there's just this RF nightmare. So what I said was, "Hey, brother, take it down. I know what you're doing. Just go down, just go around the corner, away from your truck, away from all those people, and let's see how that works." Totally cleared things up, right? He just was getting just nuked by all this RF. So, be thinking about that. So you have RF radio frequency between your controller and your drone, separate your people, separate from other portable devices, and then think about the actual, all the data being consumed because of all the people in your area. Does that help? Hello?
Yeah, that definitely helps. I was actually referring more so to when you have a bunch of Starlinks deployed in close proximity. I wondered if that would mess with our connection to
Oh,
DroneSense.
so you said multiple for Starlinks. Man, I don't know the answer to that. Does anybody else have experience with multiple Starlinks? I usually, like, we've run, with other organizations that have a Starlink in one area and then we're in another area. I would guess that because you're running off a router at that point, that it's pushing information, it's creating that Wi-Fi bubble. I would imagine that, yeah, it would probably definitely create issues. I mean, it's the same thing as your MDC in your truck, but I don't have experience with that, with multiple in a small area. I would, it would make sense though. I would make your router and try to get it focused on you or your area of operation.
Chris, are you talking about like, quality of service from Starlink suffering because you've got 10, 15 of these operating in a fairly small area?
Yeah, that's more so what I was referring to. I had read that because you're using the Roam plan, you get deprioritized as opposed to the residentials in the area. I just didn't know if a bunch of these minis going off in a small area would cause potential issues with our connection to DroneSense, maybe if you're doing magic links or something.
Anecdotally, I can tell you that I've been in a situation where we had 15 Starlink minis within basically a soccer stadium, and none of them were getting hit with any latency issues.
Wow. All right, cool. Had no idea.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's considering you have to consider how many satellites they have over that one particular area. Um, I know there are tracking apps so you can tell when there's more satellites available. So if there are more sats available, you're less likely to get deprioritized.
Cool. Thanks, Nick.
Bet.
All right. Let's jump into airspace management. I just got back from Indy 500. I don't know if you guys can see down here on this lower right-hand side. Um, there's a lot going on over there. I'm going to start on the far left side of the screen and work my way to the right. But that far right-hand side of the screen is why airspace management is super important. So, guys, we have remote ID detectors now. So it's pretty cool. There are little portables like UAS Sentry and Paris Aerospace and Drone Tag, and there's a bunch of different ones that are springing up to allow us to get in to do the detection of counter UAS, right? The detection portion of this. We all know that we have the ability to uh, use flight radar or a service to be able to track ADS-B outside of DroneSense. And we also have, true RF detection devices. So this one that you're seeing over here says downtown Phoenix. That is what we also would have seen during the Indy 500 to be able to pick up not only remote ID, but actually RF detection. But now, and this is as of, this last year, we actually have ADS-B in our system. So if you're not aware of that, please reach out to Ramon, anybody from the DroneSense team. We have ADS-B in our system. So as an aircraft is flying over, it is using a transponder. You guys probably remember this from your Part 107. It's using a transponder, Mode C transponder, to put out information to say, here's my tail number, here's my altitude, this is my heading. So we actually have that in OPSUP and on our controllers. So we can really help you with deconflicting that airspace. And we also have this new feature that we're continuing to improve. It's IDSB, right? So this is an internal uh, deconfliction system. So we're also using, if you are using DroneSense, not on the same mission, you're not on the same mission, you don't have to actually be sharing the same mission code, but you are using DroneSense, then a marker shows up on the screen. Now, if you're looking at that lower right-hand side of my screen, that's the Indy 500 this last week that we were helping work. There's so much aircraft going on there. Man, you got VIPs that are flying in and out on helicopters constantly. We have all of our drones flying. We've got fixed wings that are carrying banners around. There's CBP is flying over that. We've got Homeland Security flying over them. I mean, there's so much going on at that venue, and you're going to want to be able to see and deconflict. So make sure, I can't remember if on this next slide I have my air to ground radio on here. I think no, this is actually just a larger view of what that airspace looked like. I'm going to say right now, if you don't have a VHF air to ground radio, you're wrong. Now, I understand if you're not a private pilot, there's a lot of question, and we're trying to figure out how to get everybody qualified using air to ground radio. But having an air to ground when you're in a disaster response and you're working in the middle of nowhere and your TAC radio is not working well because of your repeater system's down, you need to be thinking about still being able to communicate effectively with the emergency aircraft coming in, or the utility aircraft that are coming in, or the looky-loos that are coming in. All that will be in your airspace, and you're going to want to be able to communicate with them. So a VHF radio, a ICOM VHF radio is going to be imperative for you at a disaster response. Thinking about training, I mentioned already, practice the way you play. Things that you're going to want to be thinking about when you set up to go out the door for an event is, I've got to have R picks and VOs. You say, okay, well, an R pick and a VO could be the same thing. True, but at a disaster response, you're going to get tired. If you're the Lone Ranger that's out there, you are going to be tired. You probably won't be eating well. You won't be using the restroom well. You're not going to be drinking enough water. You're going to be tired. You're not going to be functioning the way that you need to operate. So having that extra person, that VO, even if it's just somebody that is not part of your team, but that can go out the door with you to listen for other aircraft, that can look down at Ops Hub and help see if aircraft are coming into your airspace, to be able to look at where all the drones are flying. Use that position more than ever in a disaster response. Very important. Divide and conquer your area of operation. A data specialist, you're probably like, I don't even know what that means, Coit. A data specialist is actually probably one of the, I don't know, in my brain is one of the, it's just one of these key players on a flight line, right? So when you have multiple aircraft that are flying, you want to be able to take all that information in on a one screen and think about that as your person that's coordinating that airspace. So that person is talking with your LZ manager or your mission specialist or module leader, whatever terminology you want to use, that's managing your flight team, the person that's communicating directly back to the command. You want that data specialist to say, hey, boss, this is what we've got going on. Hey, guys, I'm looking at um, your batteries. I know you're tired. You need to be thinking about bringing this aircraft back so you don't get danger low on your system. Like this is kind of stuff that you need to be thinking about expanding your program. Practice this at the fun events. Practice this at the good time events. All right. Don't go into a disaster response without already having practiced this. Write these things down. Contact us. I'll go over each and every one of these things with you. It's really important, though, that you end up scaling your operation and don't just go out the door just thinking, hey, I'm bringing some beef jerky, my drone, and a Coke, right? I know plenty of people that have done that, and it's important that you go out the door prepared. All right. Logistics. I'm going to show you the MRP. This is I just you guys have probably seen this before in the last presentation. You know, Eisenhower said it great. It's that wars have been lost and won based off logistics. If you're looking at just something super basic, like down on the lower right-hand side, this is kind of, I'm going to pull the thread out. I'm going to say, hey, what's my environment? What kind of food, water facilities am I going to have? What am I going to pack in and pack out? If I've got an equipment like a generator, for example, do I have fuel for the generator? Well, if I have fuel to run that generator, I have extension cords to plug into it. Did I bring my chargers? Do I have my batteries? Like all those things all fit together in this. And this is where a disaster response gets super crazy. This is like where, so I've got Matt Bridge Farmer, and I saw there was somebody else on here, some Brad, maybe. I saw somebody else from TPWD on here. These guys from the state do it great, right? Because our state folks are embedded into a disaster response. Like they're already there. The state guys are there. They already have food, they already have water, they have communications. Their logistical tie-in is like that's how you do this. They have a place to stay. You got to be really careful with showing up in a disaster response with just a drone and saying, "Hey, I want to help." Because if you don't have toilet paper and you don't have the generator with the fuel and the extension cords and the chargers and the batteries, you become a problem. So make sure when you go out the door that you have a something that you are prepared for. And this is when I talk about being prepared. This is just an example of a mission ready package. So we've created one. It's just a light and heavy version of this. Kind of spells out positions that are on scene, and you know, this is again, this is something you can practice with ahead of time to make sure that you have in your head what it's going to look like with when you roll out the door, right? It's just some basic definitions. It shows when we scale an event, what that can look like. This is what on a team that goes out, this is what these different components of the team would show up for. So we're looking at, you know, different types of events. And here is the packing list. So I mean, I'm being serious when I say toilet paper. Make sure you have toilet paper. Make sure that you have wipes, right? If you're going to be out overnight, you're going to want to clean you want to be able to get clean. So these are things that we've established within our own team that when we roll out, this is what we bring with us when we show up on an event. So there's a heavy plan, and here's just some more things. We just expand basically everything we have. But this is important. So when you show up, you're not somebody that needs help. You're somebody that can actually contribute. You got to show up more than with just beef jerky and a Coke and some some wanting to help. All right. Any questions on the MRP? All right. Palms, as I had mentioned before, making sure that you have that air to ground radio, right? You have a way to communicate with, if you're showing up for a disaster response, even if you don't use it, make sure you have a way to communicate, or don't be in the airspace. If you can't communicate with the other aircraft, it doesn't matter. You have to be able to communicate. So being able to communicate internally, maybe that's cell phones, maybe this is our portables, maybe it's our TAC radios, making sure you can communicate with the other participants that are showing up from the airspace. Oh, sorry about that. Making sure that we can communicate with command, and again, always make sure that you have a plan. We do have a DroneSense response team. I've mentioned that that term a few times. Our response team, if you guys get into a jam, we're in hurricane season, as Matt Bridge Farmer said. If you guys end up getting into a jam, or you're worried about something coming at you, a fire, a flood, hey, this tornado just swacked us and we need help, call our company. It doesn't mean that we have to show up. It may mean that DroneSense just turns on a bunch of orgs for you, right? Turns on all the spigots. Our company is really big on making sure you have what you need, and that doesn't cost you anything. So, I spelled response wrong. I just realized that. Make sure that you call us ahead of time. So if you think you have an event coming up, or you have an event that just happened, do not hesitate to call DroneSense. We will make sure that we'll do everything we can to get you in a better place. And again, that doesn't mean us having to show up on scene, but it could go as far as that. So in Hurricane Helene, they just got completely whacked. We showed up at the instant command post, gave those guys a chance to go back and relax and go back with their families, because everybody that had gotten just hit by the hurricane, they had to take care of their families at home. So, we were able to come in and help out. And we want to be able to be there for you at all different levels. So please just be sure to ask. Be sure that you're looking at DroneSense and you're maximizing all of our features, right? So if you have questions on how to use feature layers, please contact us. Let us go through a school with you, some training with you, and let us help you maximize the system if you've got questions. If you're here for the first time, you're like, I don't even know what any of this stuff means, what a feature layer is, call. Let us help you. Let us show you how to drop these markers, right? Left-hand side was Hurricane Helene. And those markers, I wish I could zoom in on this and you could just see how many hundreds of markers we had dropped there. If you have questions on that, or how to be able to set up a grid within your town, let us help you out, because this is what we are good at doing, and this is what we're all about, is making sure that we're there to help you out. We practice the way we play. We show up at every one of these events we've shown up to, and we're going to show up at yours if you give us a shout. Two things. We can give you a few minutes to ask questions and talk. Here's a QR code. Fire back at me, David Solo. This is a good place to fire back and say, yeah, that guy was dumb. Or you could just go open mic and tell me it. But this is a real good place. I appreciate all the feedback. If you guys can fill it in, or say, hey, next year I'd really like to go in more detail in certain areas. So let us know. I'm going to give you a 5 count with your phones. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to switch to the next slide, and that's going to be my contact information. Put my phone number in your phone, save it. Scan that QR code, save the card that comes with it. Make sure that you have a way to get in touch with us, and do not hesitate to practice the way you play. If you need suggestions on that, or just for an event itself, call us. Let us know so we can help you out. That wraps up the discussion. I think we have 4 minutes. I'm looking at the Ramon. Did you see anything? Charlie, go back one slide. Charlie, is that what you're saying? Oops, that's not the slide. Charlie, is that the slide that you wanted? Cool. Thanks, buddy. All right, Adam said he had to go. Nick, cool. Ground aircraft communications on air band frequencies are allowed in emergencies. Oh, thanks. Thanks, William. Thanks for throwing that up there, man. I appreciate that. So William's saying, hey, during emergencies, you guys can use the freak. Mashad.
Yeah, I had a general question about the advanced geospatial features that just came out.
Yeah.
So I was under the impression that this was augmented reality and we'd be able to see these things through the video feed on our drone. Is that true, or did I make that up?
Nope, that's true. So you can visualize the markers. We haven't gotten the roads yet. That's coming.
Okay.
So
That was okay.
yeah, so you can
Yeah,
get
that was my biggest question. I wanted to see if we could get the road names and the addresses superimposed on the video.
oh man, my fingers are so crossed. I can't wait for it to happen. It's happening. I don't know when it's happening. Our engineering team has been going in a ton of different directions. That is coming to us. But currently we just have the markers in your home, your home base that will pop up.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, Chief Solo, you said, can we access that document? Which one do you want, bub? Chief Solo, you still on? The planning doc.
I wonder if you wanted the ops plan, and Coit, do you still have mine? You feel free to ship that one out to anybody that wants it.
Yeah, Sean, I think I saved that. Do you have that? Do you have something you can post here real quick, Sean?
I can try here in just a second.
Okay. Yeah, Sean's got a really good one. Sean Qualley, guys, man, they've got the state fair up in uh his neck of the woods in Minnesota, and it's they push a lot of people through there. And again, this is just really good practice for any other disaster event. Just copy and paste this stuff. Um, any other questions? Guys, go live, go open mic on this. Going through the
Hey, Coy.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, maybe put that on my feedback for future, like your 200s and some of the other forms. Maybe have a QR code they could kind of scan in, send to you, and you guys can redact and redistribute to anybody that wants it.
For
So,
for which ones? For the IT forms?
Yeah, ICS specifically. So you mentioned Helene. Some of those when I went down for Milton might have been useful, just showing them a framework to use.
That's actually a really good idea, man. I should have that. I'm actually putting that down here. That's a good idea. Just having a library to be able to pull from with a QR code. Super good. Thank you for that. Hey, Sean, thanks for putting up that link there. And everybody, take Sean Qualley's number down. That's one of the really good things about our community is that we all share. Like this, if you have talked to somebody that's using Axon or DroneSense and they don't know about this kind of stuff that takes place, tell them. Say, hey, show up on our Friday working group calls. Show up at our basic training calls. This is where it all gets done, guys. This is where we all talk and we all share. Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate you putting that out, bub. Anything else? Open mic. All right. That hour went by fast on this side, guys. I hope it wasn't too painful on your end. Again, just take away big picture items. At some point, hopefully we'll have an actual class, like a full day class on this, because there's a lot that goes into it. But I really appreciate you guys asking questions. Uh, appreciate you guys participating. I want to see you. I'm hoping to see you guys and hear you guys on our Friday working group calls. So make sure that you're on those and grab a buddy. Um, it's very important that we keep this community growing. With that, unless I hear anything else, I'm just going to shut it down. All right. Looks like I'm shutting her down.